Recently, I discovered my wife was cheating on me with a man, her doctor. I was overwhelmed with emotions and searching for some form of justice. I decided to video call AP's fiancé to expose their actions. Let me explain. I'm going to share the details of my shocking discovery and ask for your advice on how to navigate this difficult time. During the video call, AP's fiancé was shocked and devastated to learn about the affair. He thanked me for bringing it to her attention and expressed his gratitude for my honesty. Now I'm grappling with the aftermath of this revelation and need guidance on how to handle the situation moving forward. I thought I'd give you some context. My name is David, I'm 45, and my wife is Maya. She's 33. We've been married for 6 years, and like any couple, we've had our ups and downs. We've been trying to have kids for as long as I can remember, but it hasn't worked out. We've seen various doctors and tried different fertility treatments, but it hasn't been successful. I suppose it was because of our age. Given the difficulties we were having conceiving, we realized that age could be a significant factor in fertility, particularly for women over 30. Despite the challenges, we never lost hope and continued to support each other on this journey. I could see that my wife was slowly becoming depressed with the realization that we might not be able to have our own kids. We did our research and educated ourselves we looked into other options like adoption or surrogacy, and kept an open mind about different ways to become parents. In the end, we decided to try IVF as our last chance to have a baby. I had mentioned adoption a few times to my wife, but she quickly dismissed it. My wife was set on not going down the adoption route because she wanted a biological child. She believed that having a biological connection was important for her to feel like a mother. Despite her strong views, I felt disappointed. I wanted to start a family and provide a loving home for a child in need. Days went by without much progress. We started losing hope. Just as things were going south, I was trying to find ways I was really happy for my wife. I came home one day, and the music was really loud. It was all over the house and you couldn't ignore it. I followed the sound and found my wife dancing in the living room. She was really happy, and I was really happy for her. We danced together, and it was a really happy moment. The moves instantly lifted my spirits, creating a moment of pure bliss in our humble abode. We fell onto the bed tired and sweaty, and looked at each other, breaking into laughter. It had been so long since we'd enjoyed ourselves like that. The weight of the world seemed to lift off our shoulders in that moment, as we relished the pure joy and freedom of laughter. It was a much-needed reminder of the importance of taking time, and to find happiness amidst life's chaos as we caught our breath. I asked her what the occasion was. She propped herself up, brimming with radiance, and pulled out a brochure from the side table and showed it to me. She started speaking so fast in all her excitement that it was difficult for me to keep up with it. I asked her to breathe and to slow down a bit. She said that she'd spent the past few months looking into fertility clinics and had finally found one that seemed like it could help us. She was so happy and excited that I didn't want to rain on her parade. We decided to check it out over the weekend. The day we were due to visit the clinic was a bit of a drive from where we lived, but I didn't mind because I knew it was for a good cause, so I was excited to get started on the journey. After 3 hours of driving with a few pit stops, we finally arrived at the clinic. It was impressive, standing tall and welcoming, with modern architecture blending seamlessly with the surrounding landscape. Stepping out of the car, I felt a sense of anticipation and hope. I could sense a mix of nerves and excitement in the air as we looked forward to this new adventure. We were asked to wait for a while until the doctor made himself available. During the wait, we were given a bunch of papers to fill in and to tell the doctor what we wanted to achieve with our visit today. A file was made under our name and sent over to the doctor for initial review. The papers included, they asked us about our medical history, what our current symptoms were, and what medications we were taking. They also asked for our insurance details and for us to sign consent forms for any necessary procedures. Once the doctor had received our file, they would have a better understanding of our needs and be able to provide more personalized care during the visit. After what felt like a few hours, we were shown into the doctor's office. The doctor introduced himself as Patrick. He was young and good-looking, but not so young that he was an expert in the field. As he examined us, I wondered if his youth would affect his ability to provide proper medical care. However, he spoke confidently about our symptoms and asked insightful questions, He answered all my questions and made us run through the process he felt would be the most effective in diagnosing our condition. He explained each step thoroughly, making sure we understood the purpose and significance of each test or examination. He also took the time to address any concerns or uncertainties we had, which helped us feel more at ease. We were reassured and agreed to go ahead with the procedure without a second thought. We started with our treatment immediately. We gave them the necessary tests to determine the best course of action. Once the results were in, he tailored a treatment plan to address our specific needs and began administering the appropriate medications. We were asked to check in after a month to see if there had been any changes in our body. He then evaluated our progress and made any necessary adjustments to the treatment plan. He also gave us some useful advice on lifestyle changes that could help us conceive. A few sessions in, Patrick told me I didn't need to attend anymore. My wife was the one who needed to be physically healthy, so she would be the one to check in. To get pregnant, I was to keep taking the same medication. Patrick had decided that I didn't need to be at the sessions anymore because my wife's physical health was the most important thing for getting pregnant. From then on, I was there to support her and make sure she took her medication. I trusted Patrick and knew it was important to focus on my wife's well-being. The journey towards starting a family. I have to admit that I found this a little weird, but I was willing to take any steps that could help us start a family. As the days went by, my wife started spending more and more sessions with Patrick. She seemed to be enjoying his company and finding solace in their conversations. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of jealousy, wondering what they were discussing that she couldn't share with me. My wife reassured me that she's seen a lot of positive changes in her body through the sessions that Patrick has planned. She said that these sessions are actually helping her overcome some physical discomfort she's been experiencing for a while. As her partner, I wanted to support her in any way I could, so I decided to trust her judgment and give the doctor the benefit of the doubt. I still felt that she was praising him a little too much though. I was happy to give her the benefit of the doubt and respect her decision, even though I had some reservations. However, I had no idea that infidelity would become an issue in our relationship. I started to suspect something was going on when I noticed my wife's unusual behavior and secretive phone conversations with Patrick. At first, she'd come home and tell me all about her sessions, what happened in them, the tests, how it went, how she felt afterwards. But then the details started to dwindle. She shared less and less with me. I couldn't help but feel uneasy. Her communication with Pat seemed to increase, while her openness with me dwindled. It was as if a wall had been erected between us. I started to wonder what was really going on between them and why she'd changed so suddenly. I couldn't ignore my gut feelings, so I started looking into it. I kept an eye on her schedule and noticed she was often out of place. I also found some messages and social media interactions that made me think she wasn't being entirely honest. As I looked into it more, I found out that she'd been having late-night phone calls. The more I looked into it, the more I thought there was something going on between them. It wasn't just an ordinary patient-doctor relationship. The way they spoke to each other on the phone made me think there was more to it. I had a feeling there was more to it than met the eye. It seemed like the doctor was getting involved in more than just a professional capacity. In the heat of the moment, I thought about confronting Patrick, but I decided it would be more effective to involve his fiancée. If someone had told me about my wife's affair, I thought I'd give him a heads up. I managed to get his fiancée's contact details from all those endless chats they had. I saved it on my phone and waited for the right moment to tell her. As the days went by, I couldn't shake off the feeling of guilt, and I was still unsure about my plan. But I kept thinking that I might be able to save someone from heartbreak and betrayal. From heartbreak and betrayal, I kept pushing forward. Later that week, my wife told me she had another appointment with Patrick on Friday. I acted cool and wished her well for the session. I also told her I hoped we'd see some positive results soon. She hugged me and said we'd probably have good news soon. I was excited to hear the news, feeling a mix of anticipation and curiosity. I couldn't help but wonder what kind of breakthroughs my wife might experience during her session with Patrick. I was waiting anxiously for Friday to come around, just like every day. I waved my wife goodbye and left for work. I hid myself in the next block so that I could follow her around once she left the house. I left the house and watched her drive away. I had a feeling of unease. I didn't want to see something that might break my heart. I followed her car at a safe distance, making sure that I remained unnoticed by her. Instead of taking the highway towards the clinic, she took a turn that led towards a different path. I was puzzled by this, and I followed her. She stopped at a park and got out of the car. I stopped my car at a distance and watched. She seemed to be waiting for someone, looking around anxiously. After a few minutes, a man approached her and got into the car. It was Patrick. They started kissing and fondling each other. They were really into each other, like they'd been waiting a lifetime for this moment. The car became a kind of sanctuary for their love, a world of shared intimacy and unspoken promises. I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I was shattered and heartbroken. I decided to call Patrick's fiancée and let her in on what she was unaware of. I dialed her number and got out of the car. I started walking towards my wife's car. She picked up and was puzzled to see someone she did not know. I pointed the camera towards the back of the car so she could see what was happening in the car. Both Mia and Patrick were unaware. I was hidden from view and busy watching them as she listened to the audio feed. Her expression changed from confusion to shock and disbelief as she realized what was going on. The realization of their betrayal hit her hard, leaving her speechless and unable to comprehend the depth of their deception. It was her scream that brought them to their senses. As they realized, I quickly disconnected the call and started walking towards my car. My wife quickly dressed herself and ran out of her car towards me. She said that she did not mean to hide things from me. She just wanted to have a baby of her own. But looking at our results, it was possible to have a baby by Patrick, suggested that he could help us in this situation. I was surprised that this was the kind of help he suggested, and my wife of 6 years had agreed to such an absurd plan. He's a doctor, for goodness sake. How could he suggest having sex with a patient and getting her pregnant without getting caught by her husband? Did she not trust me enough to? I suggested that we discuss this together, as we always have, to try to work through this phase. I also wanted to know how they could justify the sexting and the nude pictures that they were sharing with each other. I could see that they were trying to avoid the issue, but I wanted them to accept that they were both cheating. My wife and her lover have been having an affair behind my back. I'm in a state of shock and confusion. I don't know what to do next. I've lost all trust in my wife. It's going to be hard to rebuild it. I'm considering getting a divorce, but I'm also wondering if there's a way to heal and resolve this. I love my wife. My wife was blinded by her desire to have kids, but that doesn't give her the right to have an affair with a doctor. It just makes me sick thinking about it. So, I turn to you for advice, support, and guidance. Have any of you experienced a similar situation? How did you navigate the emotional roller coaster that accompanies such a thing? I'm trying to decide whether to reconcile with my wife or get a legal separation. How can I trust her again? And if we do get back together, what steps should we take to rebuild our relationship? Please share your insights, personal stories, and suggestions. Your advice could make all the difference in helping me make a well. I've thought this through. Thanks for taking the time to read my story and for any input you may offer. In short, I discovered my wife's infidelity with her doctor. I decided to video call his fiancée to expose their affair. I'm seeking advice and guidance on how to handle the aftermath, whether to consider reconciliation or separation, and how to rebuild trust in the relationship. I'd love to hear any personal experiences or suggestions you may have. It's been a few months since I found out about the affair. It was a difficult time for everyone involved, with lots of different emotions to deal with, including guilt, anger, and sadness. I'm still struggling to understand why my wife agreed to it. It was a ridiculous arrangement with a stranger just to have a child of her own. Patrick's fiancée wanted to meet me in person to thank me for showing her his true colors. She said she'd noticed some red flags in his behavior lately, but didn't have any concrete evidence until my call. We had a long and emotional conversation. We had a chat about our shared experiences, the pain we've been through, and the future we now face. She was really grateful that I'd helped her see Patrick's true colors, as it helped her make an informed decision about their relationship. We talked about the importance of trust and how we can support each other moving forward, knowing that we both deserve happiness and fulfillment.